Have you ever had the feeling that she's thinking about you, even when she's nowhere near? That subtle pull, almost like a whisper in your mind, suggesting her attention is quietly focused on you. Today, we're going to explore 5 unusual, often overlooked signs that reveal when a woman is thinking about you, and why most men completely miss them. By the end, you'll begin noticing patterns in her behavior that speak louder than words ever could. Before we dive in, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It's not just a routine ask. What you'll learn here can change the way you understand connection, attention, and the unspoken dynamics between men and women. The first sign is her sudden shifts in energy when she's around you. You may notice that one moment she seems calm and composed, and the next, there's an almost imperceptible spark, something in the way she moves, a slight hesitation in her words, or the way her eyes linger. These small shifts are rarely conscious. When a woman is thinking about you, her mind and body align in subtle ways. She isn't deliberately signaling anything, but her nervous energy, her fidgeting, even the rhythm of her breathing can betray her internal focus. The second sign is unusual responsiveness. You might find that she reacts quickly to your messages or remembers tiny details from your conversations, things you barely noticed yourself. These are the breadcrumbs of her attention. She isn't just being polite. She's processing your words, your moods, and your actions long after the interaction ends. This is the quiet evidence of mental preoccupation. Next, watch for signs of mirroring. Have you noticed her using similar phrases, gestures, or tone when she's speaking with you? This isn't mimicry for manipulation. Psychologically, mirroring is a signal of subconscious connection. When someone mirrors your behavior, it often indicates that they are deeply attuned to you, thinking about you, and trying to synchronize emotionally without even realizing it. The fourth sign is seemingly random reminders. A woman who's thinking about you might bring up a shared memory, a joke, or something you casually mentioned weeks ago, out of context, out of nowhere. These moments are not accidental. They are her mind's way of creating a bridge between her thoughts and your presence. Even if she never explicitly admits it, these references are subtle proof of mental and emotional attention. Finally, notice the frequency of her small interactions. Short messages, fleeting comments, likes on posts, or even passing glances. Individually, they might seem insignificant, almost trivial. But when combined, they form a pattern, a web of attention that quietly confirms she's thinking of you more than she lets on. These small acts are the silent expressions of interest, often hidden under the guise of casual behavior. These 5 signs may seem unusual or easy to dismiss, but they share a common thread. They reveal attention and mental presence that goes beyond the surface. Women often think deeply before expressing themselves verbally. What you observe in her subtle behavior is often more honest than what is actually said. Recognizing these signs is not about manipulation or reading too much into small gestures. It's about understanding the quiet ways her mind is invested in you, and the insight you gain can transform the way you perceive connection and intimacy. Another sign she's thinking about you shows itself in the way she communicates, not just what she says, but how she says it. Words are only part of the story. Her choice of topics, the timing of her messages, even the subtle pauses in conversation can reveal more than a direct statement ever could. Often, women will test the waters in conversation, mentioning things that relate to you or shared experiences to gauge your reaction. This isn't manipulation, it's curiosity paired with emotional caution. She's exploring her own feelings while observing yours. Pay attention to the moments she seems to check in without any obvious reason. Maybe she sends a message that seems random, like a meme, a quote, or a short thought of you note. To an outsider, it might seem trivial, but psychologically, these small touch points indicate that she's revisiting memories of you and bringing them into her present awareness. They are breadcrumbs of attention, a gentle but consistent reminder that she's thinking about you when no one else is around. Then there's the emotional resonance in her responses. You may notice that when you share something meaningful, even mildly personal, She reacts in a way that goes beyond polite acknowledgement. Her empathy is sharper, her engagement more focused. This heightened responsiveness happens because her thoughts are already with you. She's processing your emotional state, connecting with your experiences, even if she never says it outright. Subconsciously, she's prioritizing your emotional world alongside her own. Another subtle indicator is what I call anticipatory behavior. This is when she seems to know what you might say or do next, or preempts topics you might bring up. This isn't mind reading, it's attention and focus. When someone is thinking about you, your behaviors and words become familiar, patterns that her mind tracks even when you aren't together. She internalizes your habits, your humor, and the nuances of your personality, and that mental rehearsal shows up in small ways, like finishing your thought or aligning her tone to match yours. We also see it in the moments she chooses to make herself visible to you. Maybe she posts something on social media you'd notice, or she appears in spaces you frequent. It isn't always intentional, but it's a reflection of her mind circling back to you, looking for connection, even indirectly. These actions might feel subtle, almost inconsequential, but in reality, they are manifestations of her attention. Finally, consider her ability to hold back. Sometimes the clearest sign she's thinking about you is what she doesn't say. She may avoid expressing feelings directly, but her hesitation, her carefully measured responses, and her restraint reveal the weight of her thoughts. Women often weigh emotional risks carefully, so when she's thinking of you, there's an invisible tension between what she feels and what she chooses to reveal. This tension, when observed over time, is one of the most honest indicators of her focus. Understanding these behavioral patterns requires patience and reflection. It's not about jumping to conclusions or projecting desire onto every gesture. It's about cultivating awareness, learning to see the hidden currents in her attention, noticing the way she integrates you into her mental and emotional space, and appreciating the depth behind the subtleties. Once you do, the patterns become clear, and what once seemed confusing or inconsistent suddenly makes sense. One of the most revealing ways a woman shows she's thinking about you is not through words at all, but through her body. These signs are subtle, often unconscious, and can be overlooked if you're not paying close attention. Yet, once you start noticing them, they become some of the most honest indicators of her focus. First, consider her posture and orientation. When she's talking to you, or even just near you, her body may lean slightly in your direction, or her feet may subtly point toward you. These gestures are instinctive. They signal mental engagement and interest. Even if she's trying to appear neutral, her body is betraying where her attention truly lies. Humans are wired to orient themselves physically toward things they care about, and this includes emotional attention. Another physiological cue is touch, or the lack of it. It doesn't have to be overt. A brush of the arm, a hand that lingers slightly longer on a shared object, or a gentle nudge during conversation can all indicate her mind is focused on you. These touches are often subconscious, almost reflexive, and they reveal an emotional undercurrent. She may not even realize she's doing it, but her body remembers the connection she feels. Her facial expressions can also reveal hidden attention. Look for micro-expressions, fleeting smiles, brief raises of the eyebrows, or slight shifts in her gaze. These tiny expressions last only a fraction of a second, yet they convey authentic emotional reactions that words often conceal. A smile that appears too quickly or fades too slowly, or a subtle glance that shifts away the moment you notice it, are all indicators she's mentally engaged with you even when she isn't speaking. Another sign appears in the way she mimics your energy or gestures. This mirroring is not deliberate. It happens when someone is attuned to another person's presence. If you notice her unconsciously copying your posture, gestures, or tone, it's a clear reflection of her focus. Her mind is aligning with yours, a silent signal that you occupy her thoughts more than she openly admits. Finally, pay attention to her response timing. When someone is thinking about you, there's often a slight delay or a heightened precision in their responses. She might pause for a moment before replying, considering not just what she'll say, but how her words might reflect her internal state. Or she might respond almost immediately, anticipating your needs or reactions. These variations in timing are subtle indicators of cognitive and emotional attention. All of these signs, the posture, the touch, the facial microexpressions, the mirroring, and the timing of responses, together create a language without words. Women may not verbally express what they're feeling, but their bodies rarely lie. Observing these patterns requires mindfulness and patience, but it offers a window into her hidden thoughts and feelings. Understanding nonverbal cues gives you insight that goes beyond what is spoken. It allows you to sense attention, interest, and emotional preoccupation before she ever puts it into words. In essence, it's a way of reading the space between her thoughts and her actions, a secret layer of communication that most men completely miss. In today's world, much of human interaction happens online, and the way she engages digitally can be just as revealing as her in-person behavior. Even when she appears casual or indifferent, her actions on social media, in messages, or in shared digital spaces often signal attention and mental presence. Understanding these patterns requires subtle observation, but once you notice them, they can tell you a lot about how often you're on her mind. One of the first things to watch for is the timing of her messages. Does she often respond quickly, even to seemingly trivial texts? Or does she leave gaps only to return with a thoughtful reply? Both can indicate that you occupy her attention. Quick responses can suggest a heightened focus, an unconscious prioritization of your messages over others. Delayed but carefully crafted responses, on the other hand, can reveal that she's considering her words, processing emotions, or testing her own feelings before engaging. Both patterns speak to her mind being invested in you. Next, consider the content of her messages. Does she reference things you've said in past conversations or bring up shared experiences seemingly out of nowhere? Even small acknowledgments, remembering a joke you made, or checking on something you mentioned weeks ago, signal that you are present in her thoughts. These aren't random coincidences, they're subtle proofs that she's mentally revisiting interactions and integrating them into her present awareness. Her engagement on social media can also be revealing. The posts she likes, the comments she leaves, or the stories she watches repeatedly may appear minor, but they often indicate a quiet interest. For example, she might consistently notice your updates, even if she doesn't openly interact. This pattern of attention shows that she's mentally tracking your life, consciously or unconsciously, keeping a thread of connection between her thoughts and your actions. Another digital sign is sharing or sending content that resonates with your interests. If she sends a song, article, or meme that reflects something you like or discussed before, it's not accidental. She's creating touch points, subtle reminders of your connection. Even if she frames it casually, her choice demonstrates awareness and consideration, showing that her mind circles back to you outside of direct interactions. Finally, notice the small ways she maintains digital presence without overtly signaling intent. Short messages like "thinking of you," even in the smallest forms, or quick acknowledgments in group chats, often reveal her cognitive and emotional preoccupation. She may hide her feelings consciously, but her actions leave traces that show you are on her mind. These moments are rarely dramatic, but they are consistent and telling. Digital behavior is unique because it offers a continuous, traceable reflection of attention. While in-person cues can be fleeting, online interactions leave a subtle trail. By observing her messaging patterns, social media engagement, and content-sharing behaviors, you can begin to see the quiet, persistent ways she maintains mental and emotional connection with you, even when she doesn't express it openly. Beyond words, gestures, and digital interactions, one of the most profound ways a woman reveals she's thinking about you is through her emotional and psychological patterns. These are the behaviors that reflect not what she says, but how she feels and how her mind engages with your presence, even when you're not around. Understanding these subtleties can give you insights that most men completely overlook. One key indicator is the way her mood shifts around you. You may notice subtle changes. She seems lighter, more animated, or unexpectedly calm when she's in your presence. These shifts are rarely accidental. They reflect an internal alignment. Her emotional state adjusts because her mind is already attuned to you. She may not even consciously realize it, but her feelings respond to the thought of you. Another sign is the selective nature of her social interactions. Observe how she behaves around others when you're present versus when you're absent. Women who are thinking about someone often show heightened attention to how they present themselves in situations where that person might notice. This doesn't mean she's performing for you consciously. It's her mind navigating emotional focus, subtly highlighting the connection she feels internally. You'll also notice how she shares personal stories or vulnerabilities. A woman who thinks about you may open up selectively, offering glimpses of her inner world. These moments are deliberate in their subtlety. She's testing whether her emotional disclosures are received well, all while maintaining a degree of protective reserve. Her mind is engaged, weighing the potential for connection and observing how her emotional investment might be mirrored by you. Small acts of thoughtfulness are another powerful indicator. Perhaps she remembers details from past conversations, anticipates your needs, or gestures in ways that show consideration. These are quiet manifestations of attention. She's mentally rehearsing interactions, integrating your presence into her daily awareness, and expressing her focus in subtle, almost invisible ways. Finally, consider how she references shared experiences or inside jokes. Even casual mentions often carry emotional weight. Her mind is returning to moments where you both intersected, replaying them and using them to maintain a connection. These references are not random. They are a reflection of her cognitive and emotional engagement with you, a sign that you are present in her thoughts more than she openly admits. What ties all these behaviors together is subtlety. Women who are thinking about someone often operate in quiet, controlled ways. They don't need to announce their attention because it's expressed through mood, focus, selective vulnerability, thoughtfulness, and memory. These signals are consistent over time, creating a pattern that, once noticed, cannot be ignored. Recognizing these emotional and psychological cues requires awareness and reflection. It's not about interpreting every gesture as a declaration of feelings. Rather, it's about observing patterns and understanding the internal processes behind her behavior. When you can perceive these subtleties, you gain access to the hidden layer of attention and care that exists before words are ever spoken. One of the most revealing signs that a woman is thinking about you comes not from what she says, but from contradictions in her behavior, moments when her actions don't fully align with her words. At first, these inconsistencies can seem confusing, even frustrating. She might act distant or disinterested in one moment, and then subtly engage in another, laughing a little too long at your jokes after appearing detached, or offering help even when she claims she's busy. These shifts are rarely deliberate. They reflect an internal tug-of-war between desire and caution, where her actions often reveal truths her words conceal. Another example is the balance between independence and connection. She may assert her own space, setting boundaries clearly, yet find ways to be near you, share experiences, or initiate small interactions. This duality isn't manipulation. It's her mind navigating emotional risks while maintaining interest. Her subtle efforts, like remembering details from conversations or sending a brief message, are quiet proof that you occupy her attention. Her body language often reinforces these contradictions. She may pull back when you approach emotionally, yet lean in slightly in quieter moments. Her gaze may avoid direct contact in public, only to return more frequently when she thinks you're not noticing. These patterns show the tension between restraint and focus, a silent indicator that she is thinking about you even when her words suggest otherwise. Bringing all of this together, it's clear that hidden attention often manifests in subtle, layered ways. Think of it like a mosaic. Individual gestures may seem minor, a glance, a short message, a remembered detail, but over time, they form a consistent pattern of mental and emotional focus. Women rarely reveal these feelings outright, but their actions and internal rhythms betray them. Recognizing these patterns requires awareness and patience. It's not about overanalyzing or decoding her every move, but noticing repeated behaviors that reflect thoughtfulness, preoccupation, and emotional engagement. These signs go beyond attraction. They show genuine cognitive and emotional investment. By observing these subtle cues, the contradictions in her actions, the quiet attentiveness, the gestures both seen and unseen, you gain insight into her inner focus. This awareness allows you to interact with her more thoughtfully, respond to her subtle signals, and build connection from a place of understanding rather than assumption. Paying attention to these patterns opens a window into her mind, revealing when she truly cares and thinks of you, even when she doesn't say a word.